Welcome back for a second edition of Stand on Guard today. I'm broadcasting live from Ottawa, and this is David Krayden, the host. Thank you so much for joining me twice today. I want to say for the first time ever, we're broadcasting live on Rumble. So please. Oh, it's telling me I'm having trouble. Okay, we're going to remove that locals one. Yeah, okay, we're good. We are still good here. Good. All right. Sorry about that. Yes, we are broadcasting live to Rumble for the first time ever. So we're broadcasting to YouTube, Facebook, X, and Rumble. It's the first time we ever did that. So this is exciting. And tomorrow, of course, I've got Naomi Wolf on the show, and we will be breaking from YouTube to go directly to Rumble when we get into some more, shall we say, controversial material. So I'll be back in a minute to talk about Mark Carney's defense fraud.
The Prime Minister lied and his minions continue to lie.
We need political change. But we also need to resolve to resist. Yes, please like the station. We really appreciate it when you do that. And we're breaking the suppression. Couldn't do it without your support. Please subscribe. Please resubscribe if you've been unsubscribed, and share this broadcast with your friends and family. We just reach out and treat you. We pray for that because it helps us continue to beat the suppression. It's been bad for the last 2 weeks. I have been fighting back every day, trying every conceivable means to boost the numbers, and we're finally getting there because they're giving up, and I'm not giving up. I'm fighting, and that's what we need to do. So, before I get into some defense facts, this just went up today on my Substack. Please have a read. Where is the conservative opposition to Bill C2? This is the Stronger Borders Bill. The poison pill in it, I've gone over it a lot of times, but I'll say it again. Surveillance, internet surveillance, opening of mail, and the beginning of a cashless society, the beginning of a digital currency. That's what's coming with Mark Carney. Please have a look at this column. I think it's one of the most important things we've done, and it's very important. I want to show you two later in the show. Former member of Parliament from Peterborough, Michelle Ferreri, is now trying, I guess, to do her best as a YouTuber. She had a station, of course, as an MP. She's continuing to do that. Thing is, she's just being a little more honest than a lot of MPs can be. And she talks about Bill C2. This is fascinating. I'll show this to you later. But let's get to Mark Carney here, who announced today that Canada is going to do a massive increase in defense spending, and it's going to represent 2% of our gross domestic product, the GDP. We promised that NATO we would do this 10 years ago. So a lot of you are probably saying, David, you should be overjoyed. You should be extremely happy. For years, you encouraged the Liberal government, a Conservative government, to do the 2% of the GDP factor. You encouraged government after government to spend more on military spending or on defense. I'm an ex-military person, 12 plus years in the Royal Canadian Air Force, as it's now called again, a public affairs officer. Yes, I love the military. What is Mark Carney up to? Just like stronger borders, this defense plan is fraudulent. Why? Why is it fraudulent? Because he wants to join the European Union Defense Force. He wants to join the European Union. So where are all these billions of dollars going to go? I ask you that. Where do you think they're going to go? Ukraine. He'll continue to spill money into the black hole of Kiev. And increasingly, the money and equipment is going to go to Europe, not to Canada. He's not Canada first. He's not Canada strong. He wants to build up our military so he can build up Europe's military and consequently, possibly initiate conflict with Russia. This is the concern. This is why I'm not enthusiastic about supporting NATO anymore. NATO is an organization that foments potential conflict. Read nuclear war in Europe. We've got crazy member states like Keir Starmer's UK, like Emmanuel Macron's France, that are openly threatening to fight Russia, to have war with Russia. That'll be over in 2 days, and France and Britain will be finished. They don't even have a valid military anymore, but they just like to talk tough. They like to talk, we're going to go to war with this Putin guy. They're gone in a couple of days. They don't have a military anymore. Did you know Great Britain has more admirals than they have battleships? Only half of their Royal Air Force fighter jets are operational. They've got very few tanks left. Canada doesn't have a single tank, by the way, that works. We sent every operational tank to Ukraine, and they got blown to bits on the battlefield. That's the truth of the matter. That's what happened. So let's listen to Mark Carney. And of course, this is all about, we're not going to be allied so closely with the United States anymore. Really? We happen to belong to NORAD. Well, we still belong to NORAD, although the United States is wondering whether we should still be the partner in NORAD. We have a continental defense agreement with the United States Army and the Canadian Army. We are joined at the hip with the United States militarily. We send people down there all the time, second them to the U.S. military. We train with the U.S. military constantly. I know that. I did so. Now, so what is Carney talking about? Suddenly, we're going to have more in common with France and Britain than we do with the United States, which is connected to Canada at the southern border? This is crazy. But listen to Mark Carney talk crazy.
Canada can work towards a new international set of partnerships that are more secure, prosperous, just, and free. We can pursue deeper alliances with stable democracies who share our interests, values, principles, and history. And we can help create a new era of integration between like-minded partners that maximizes mutual support over mutual dependency. Our military infrastructure and equipment have aged, hindering our military preparedness.
He doesn't mention we've given away hundreds of good pieces of equipment to Ukraine. We've given away all of our arsenal. We've given away all of our ammunition. We have nothing left. So the Liberals created this crisis. You think they're going to solve it? No.
Give an example or two. Only one of our 4 submarines is seaworthy.
That's true.
Less than half our maritime fleet and land vehicles are operational.
Thanks to the Liberals.
More broadly, we're too reliant on the United States. And so for all those reasons, I'm announcing today that Canada will achieve NATO's 2% of GDP target this year, half a decade ahead of schedule.
Actually, it's a decade late. We promised to do that 10 years ago, when I think NATO still had some reason to exist. It doesn't anymore, because all it is an irritant. All it is, it just keeps wanting to expand and expand and expand until it's meaningless. So if there's an infraction in some country that you've never even heard of, all NATO states are going to have to get involved. You might have to go to war for a country you don't even know exists.
And we will further accelerate our investments in years to come, consistent with meeting these new security imperatives. We'll start by changing the way we support and invest in our armed forces. We will change the way we arm the men and women who serve, so we can fight on new battlegrounds in unfamiliar territory, so we can defend every inch of our sovereign territory, from seafloor to the Arctic to cyberspace, so we can protect Canadians, our interests, and our allies. Canada's new government will rebuild, reinvest, and rearm the Canadian Armed Forces with a strategy that rests on 4 pillars. Investing in the foundations of defense, the women and men who serve, and the equipment and infrastructure.
the women and men who serve. I think the armed forces is still overwhelmingly male, Mark Carney.
That they use. Second, we will enhance and expand our military capabilities. Third, we'll strengthen Canada's defense industry. And we will diversify Canada's defense partnerships. I call on all parties in Parliament to support these critical investments in our security and sovereignty. Our plan will help ensure that Canada is strong at home and reliable abroad.
I don't believe a word of it. This is fraudulent. This is all about Mark Carney building up a military that he can give away to his European friends. This is not about building up Canada first or Canada strong. This is not about creating a military that can defend our borders. We're going to continue to see illegal immigrants flow into this country, changing the face of this country as 100,000 Canadians leave this country a year. They're leaving because the face of Canada has changed forever. Now let's listen to how the Conservatives responded to this. Not bad overall. A couple of problems, but I love the way Pierre Poilievre finishes or cleans up when he's asked about whether or not there should be consensus from the provinces to build a pipeline. They get into that, but let's hear what they have to say about national defense. And that's my old friend, defense critic James Bazan, standing behind me. He's mad at me, I think, because he supports the war in Ukraine and I don't. But James has been a pretty good guy.
Of liberal cuts, mismanagement, and back office bureaucracy, of boondoggles, and wasted money on bungled projects. Our military has never been weaker. Now more than ever, we need a strong military that will reassert our sovereignty in the north, take back control of our Arctic waters. We need at least one, but probably two Arctic bases. We need fighter jets, Poseidon aircraft. We need 4 and not 2 icebreakers to bust up the ice and reassert that we are properly the ones that lay claim over our Arctic waters. We also need to fill the massive number of vacancies that have built up in our military after the last decade by increasing the dollars available to recruit and focusing the military on a warrior culture that actually inspires people to want to join again.
Now, that's the primary difference. Poilievre is advocating for a non-woke military where where Air Force officers don't show up with nail polish on, where hair is cut to a reasonable length, a military cut and not down to their shoulders. Men having hair down to their shoulders in the military. That's what we've had in the last 5 years. It's outrageous. So yes, Poilievre is saying stop the woke crap, stop the DEI crap, which is good. And he's also talking about a Canada first military. But do you think he'll say, why are we defending Europe? From whom are we defending Europe? Why are we risking nuclear war with Russia? Why are we still in NATO? Let's defend Canada first. Stop defending Europe. Let them defend themselves if there's any problem. The Second World War has been over for 80 years. 80, count them, years. It's time to move on. NATO was a great organization during the Cold War. It should have ended with the fall of the Soviet Union, with the implosion of the Soviet Union, with the fall of the Berlin Wall. It should have been gone in 1991 instead of kept on expanding eastward. And it should never even think of having Ukraine join the organization. Let's listen to some more, Pierre, because it's not bad.
All of this is going to take money, and that's why we support getting back to the 2% target as soon as possible. And we will support additional money for our military. That's why we're calling on the government to bring in a budget, because all of this will require a budget that not only puts this money forward, clearly identifies where it comes from, but cuts waste in bureaucracy, consultants, foreign aid, corporate welfare, and other areas so that the necessary increase in the military does not come as an inflationary burden on the backs of our Canadian taxpayers who've been suffering for far too long. As always, we stand ready to work with all parties to put Canada first, to defend our country, and most important of all, to honor the brave men and women in uniform, the soldiers, sailors, and airmen who make up our forces and protect our sovereignty. We will always put them first, and we will work with anybody in any party to make that happen. Thank you very much.
Okay, so he's going to support the legislation again. He's going to support Mark Carney and the Liberals. How can he say no? Yes, the Conservatives want 2% of the GDP spent on the Canadian Armed Forces. They've been saying that for years. But they're going to let this go through without any questions asked about the consequences of the spending and where the spending is actually going to end up, because they just can't find another way out. So yeah, they're going to make demands and stipulations. They're going to suggest they tweak the spending in this way or that. But do you think Carney's going to listen? No, because he knows the Conservatives will support this. They will support it. Poilievre has said so right now. Now, let's listen to some of these questions here.
So you're saying you support this. Will you be supporting the supplementary estimates that include this $9 billion extra dollars?
Well, we have to see the supplementary estimates. What we've seen is the mains. Sorry?
I believe they were tabled.
Oh, they were tabled this morning. Okay, I haven't seen them yet. So that part is true.
So
we were both right. I'll have to take a look at the subs and see what's in there. And was there anything else in there? Or is it just this?
There's definitely other things in it, I'm sure. Okay. I haven't had a chance to parse through beyond the...
We're going to have to go to the library, the two of us, and go through the subs, I guess, eh?
On another topic then, pipelines. I'm wondering, what would you do if there's a situation where Alberta and BC, for example, are butting heads about a project? Do you think, like Mark Carney, there needs to be consensus to go forward with these big nation-building projects?
No, we've got to get it done.
That's Poilievre's best answer since Parliament resumed sitting. Great answer. No. Got to get it done. Wish he was as decisive on that issue, on other issues, as he is on that issue. But of course, Poilievre didn't again talk about Bill C-2, the most onerous, ominous, nefarious bill before Parliament right now, because I'm not going to say it again, but you know what it's going to do. It's going to obstruct your freedom and mine. And they won't talk about it. So Michel Ferreri, and I was never particularly fond of Michel Ferreri, and I'll tell you why. Because about a year ago, at the beginning of Pride Month in 2024, I think it was, she announced that these horrible men, or boys, whatever they were, who climbed the flagpole at City Hall and took down the gay pride flag should be arrested and charged for hate crimes. She lost the election when she said that. It was over for Michel Ferreri when she said that. Why? Because Conservative supporters said, holy hell, she's nothing but a Liberal. She talks like a Liberal. I don't think I'm going to come out and vote for her next time. I'm not going to vote for the Liberals or the NDP, but I'm not going to vote for Michel Ferreri. That's what happened to her. She should have clarified that statement before the last election. She might have salvaged a victory. But anyway, that's history. Michel Ferreri today is talking like an honest politician. Michel Ferreri is talking about Bill C-2 when none of the sitting Conservative MPs want to talk about it or have been told you're gagged. And it happens all the time in the Conservative Party. And the Conservative caucus is gagged all the time. They were gagged by Poilievre. They were gagged by every Conservative leader. Stephen Harper did it routinely as Prime Minister. I know, I was there. And people from the Prime Minister's office used to come to MPs' offices and say, hey, you can't talk about that. And we're telling you, you talk about that, you're in trouble. And so Michel Ferreri has a new birth of freedom. She's now out there just as an independent YouTuber who I'm sure would like to be reelected in the next election as a Conservative MP. But right now, she's being very honest. Listen to this.
So the Liberals have introduced Bill C-2, which is, well, it's another Liberal bill. Let's put it that way. Oh, it's for border security, but we're going to bury all this crazy shit in it. And and hope you don't notice. Like, we're not going to let you deposit $10,000 anymore without it being flagged. We're going to check your mail whenever we feel like it. Yeah, no, it's insane. And this is what they do, right? They deliver these bills and they call it, it's for border security, which everybody agrees on because everybody wants a stronger border. We shouldn't have ever been in this position. To crack down on fentanyl. Yep, shouldn't have been in this position. So they use that. Then they put forward these bills that are supposed to crack down on it, but they bury this sketchy shit in the middle of it. And we've seen this over and over again. Like Bill C-63 was a perfect example of this. We're going to crack down on perverts online and, people exploiting children and all of these horrible things that are happening. But we're going to also put in that bill, like, if you say something, we can arrest you and take you to jail for the rest of your life that we think is hateful, that we deem as dangerous. It's
ironic she would be talking like this, but people change. People realize they probably spoke out of turn, and I think Michelle Ferreri is there, and I think this is a good thing. But she is saying exactly the things about this bill that I've been saying for the last 2 weeks. Has she been watching my broadcast? Yes, I think she has, and I've often noticed the things I say in a broadcast are ripped verbatim into other people's broadcasts, or sometimes even the headlines or the thumbnails. I mean, the titles and the thumbnails are ripped by other people. But that's fine as long as we get the word out about this bill. And Michelle Ferreri is certainly attuned to the dangers of this bill now.
The government cannot be trusted to be in charge of these decisions. That's the bottom line. And okay, the real reason I did this video. The minister responsible for Bill C-2 is the public safety minister, which is Gary Andigadasar. I don't even know how to say his last name. Sorry, Gary. You know what? Gary, I'm sure you're a really nice person. You actually seem like a very nice person. You are not suitable to do this job. And that was blatant in the committee of the whole meeting where conservative members were questioning you on basic public safety. You saying that, people cracked out on drugs are not a public safety risk, nor should the government stop decriminalizing that.
Okay, we showed that to you twice, I think, before. Everyone's showing that clip now of the public safety ministry being unable to answer 3 questions about gun safety and about the courses gun owners have to go through. For Andrew Lawton, former journalist, now a newly elected conservative MP, asks Gary Sandegree, I think it is. I'm sorry, she's got me confused now. What's his name? The public safety minister. They quiz him. Andrew Lawton quizzes him, and of course he fails at every question. But at least he admits he doesn't have a clue. No, I don't. I can't answer that one. No, I don't know the answer to that one. I'm sorry, I can't say. But she's noticed this too, and yeah, it's incredible.
Gary, you didn't know the firearms restrictions. You don't even know their classification systems because, according to you, you've only been on the job 3 weeks. But now you're going to drop a bill that could forever change people's autonomy, freedom. No, Gary, no, Liberal Party. You have not earned that trust of the people to say, yeah, you know what? We trust them. Nobody trusts you. You froze people's bank accounts. You froze people's bank accounts. You want control and power. Your intention is not to better the country.
Yeah, and she goes on for about another 4 minutes. Wanted you to hear that, though, because I think she's seeing my broadcasts. She's actually suggesting the conservatives should ask some more pertinent questions. So what are the conservatives asking? Okay, we're going to watch question period because tomorrow, I don't think we're going to have much time for it. Like I said, Naomi Wolf is on. We're going to be talking about some real issues like the pandemic, like the future crises, like future pandemics, like future lockdowns that could occur, like future mandates that could occur, like the importance of free speech, like the importance of agreeing on what's really important. And that's having the ability to speak our minds without being thrown into jail or getting a $100,000 fine, which of course is coming as well. The Online Harms Bill, the Online Harms Act is coming back under Mark Carney. Just wait for it. It'll be here in the fall. But here's question period today. And what do the Conservatives ask again? The budget. They've been asking this for 2 weeks, getting the same answer, which is none. Can we just let this rest? The Liberals are not going to have a spring budget. Why don't we talk about Bill C-2 for a while? Why don't we talk about interprovincial trade barriers and whether that's going to affect provincial autonomy over natural resources? Why don't we talk about that for a change?
Questions orales. The honourable member for Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands, Rideau Lake.
Today, Conservatives have tabled a motion in this House that the Liberal government finally put forward a fiscally responsible budget. This Prime Minister says that he wants to be held to account based on what Canadians are paying for their groceries. But instead of putting forward a budget or bringing down grocery prices, he's introduced $500 billion in what we can only assume is more inflationary spending, with Canadians expected to pay an additional $800 in groceries this year over what they paid last year. Our ask is very simple for this Liberal government after 10 years of their inflationary spending.
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, there will be a budget in the fall of this year, but you know what's a bit rich for Canadians watching at home?
He actually answered the question. What part of that do not the Conservatives not get? They're not going to do a spring budget in the next 10 days. They're not even capable of putting the number crunching together. They're going to have a fall budget. And the Conservatives keep going back to this day in, day out, day after day, instead of going after Bill C-2, which that's what they should be asking questions about. They could embarrass the hell out of this government, but they're missing their opportunity.
Is to see these Conservatives who have consistently, at every step of the way, voted against affordability measure. Right. Mr. Speaker, they voted against childcare. They voted against farmer care. They voted against the dental program we have in Canada. Mr. Speaker, how can you stand up in this House seriously and criticize this government where at every step of the way you fail Canadians to have their back in times of needs?
The honourable member for Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands, Rideau Lake.
Conservatives have consistently voted against all of the inflationary spending and their half measures that would see those savings vaporized by their continued inflationary spending. And we'll keep voting against it unless we see a responsible budget from this government for once. Moms and dads, small businesses, single Canadian seniors, they all have to table a budget. They have to live by a budget. So why is it that these Liberals, while food prices are going through the roof and moms are having to water down the milk that they give to their babies, these Liberals won't just table a budget?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
I've got to say, if the Liberals introduced a budget, it would have no effect on food prices because they're spending money without a budget. They're spending probably $750 billion. It's higher than the $500 billion they're acknowledging. It's probably $750 billion. That's what they're spending. Do you think they're going to admit that? Do you think a budget's going to stop all that? No. It's the inflationary spending the Liberals continue to do that's creating higher food prices.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians know that when we have a choice, we will always side with them, Mr. Speaker. We have sided with children in this country to make sure that it would have a national food program. We have sided with our seniors to make sure there would be a dental program in this country. We have sided with young families, Mr. Speaker, to make sure there will be childcare. On this side of the House, Mr. Speaker, we will always side on the side of Canadians, whether they're young, whether they're seniors, whether they're workers. Canadians, we have their back. That's what we said. That's what we'll do, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Barrie South, Innisfil.
Well, food prices up has replaced elbows up at grocery stores lately as food inflation has tripled in the past 2 months. It's so bad now that even sale items are too expensive for Canadian families, and you'll be lucky, Mr. Speaker, if you walk out of a grocery store with 2 bags for less than $80. Inflationary spending must be reversed so Canadians can afford to put food on the table. Will the Liberals present a budget to show that they are at least trying to bring food prices down?
The Honourable Secretary of State for the Canada Revenue Agency and Financial Institutions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this new government is a government of action, and this is what action looks like. We're rapidly advancing legislation to cut tax for 22 million people.
Okay, I've had enough. I've heard enough. I'm sure you have too. So that's the state of question period. Does it ever change? No. Want to put up, I didn't do this morning, and I got to do it now. So I'll be back with some concluding remarks momentarily. Don't miss my morning show tomorrow. I've got Naomi Wolf on. We're going to have a great discussion about issues that are truly important. And don't give up. We are fighting back. We are fighting back in every way possible. Thank you for your support in so many ways. And thank you for being a part of the station. I tell you, I'm still going to say God bless this country and Godspeed to all of you. This has been David Krayden broadcasting live from Ottawa. I'll be back again 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. Be there.